What if the Fallout world existed in a super hardcore multiplayer DayZ style experience? Well, some incredible modders are trying to answer that question with FalloutZ, a DayZ mod that puts the classic Fallout flavor in DayZ's hardcore and punishing rule set. Let's check it out. So FalloutZ is basically a bunch of mods running with custom scripting and assets within DayZ to create the impression of a Fallout survival experience. It's currently playable on a couple of servers, and all the mods you need will automatically download and install themselves when you join that server. It's actually quite impressive just how streamlined this experience is. Back when DayZ was still just a mod for Arma games, installing and joining a proper DayZ server required way more technical know-how and manual configuration. It really does feel like we're kind of in the golden era of game mods at the moment. Now, once spawning into FalloutZ, I had to check my inventory for a headlamp and battery because the lighting in the vaults seems a bit broken. And yes, I did say vaults, as in the vault tech shelters from Fallout. The spawn point for your new characters in FalloutZ is one of two vaults at the northern edge of a new custom map made specifically for this experience. The vaults have several rooms that you can loot for clothing, health items, and weapons. Though the game is still DayZ at its core, so don't expect to find anything crazy, like a gun and a magazine for that gun in any sort of proximity to each other. The vault design certainly evokes that Fallout feel with the brighter colors and worn down textures. There's these fun cardboard cutout Vault Boy signs pointing to rooms with the most essential loot in it. And while a lot of the loot is still the basic stuff from DayZ, there are tons of Fallout themed items like the Vault suit, Pip-Boy, stim packs, and melee weapons. And once you exit the vault, the infected are all replaced with the Fallout ghouls. There's even death claws from what I hear, but I haven't had the misfortune of getting ripped apart by one just yet. Now, on my travels, I ran into some custom-built towns and NPCs, with Megaton City being one of the landmark destinations. Along the way, I noticed the usual DayZ fare of destroyed rural towns with some of the Nuka-Cola billboards and a Red Rocket truck stop thrown in just to sort of set the scene. And the towns and cities you come across in FalloutZ will generally feel a lot more post-apocalyptic than the vanilla game. Entire multi-story office buildings are tilted to their side and falling into other buildings, and as janky as it looks, Megaton City is actually a very authentic feeling and interesting place to visit. Sure, even comparing it to its experience from Fallout 3 back in 2008, it does look quite rudimentary, and that's being generous, but it is still a makeshift town built out of scraps and duct tape surrounding a giant unexploded atom bomb. The charm of the town still shines through, even if it does look very much like a thrown together asset bundle. Now, that said, the Fallout theming feels quite superficial atop the DayZ base experience. The world of Fallout has a very distinct and unique presentation style that few, if any, games have ever replicated well. Heck, even the mods for the official Fallout games often feel out of place when you compare them next to the vanilla experience. But it is totally admirable what the creators of FalloutZ have accomplished. I just think the visual appeal of this mod will be more attractive to DayZ players who like Fallout than it'll be to Fallout fans that haven't played DayZ before. Then again, it did get me to boot up DayZ again, so go figure. Now, the Fallout styling can become a bit more spotty due to the work-in-progress nature of this mod. One town will be littered with Fallout-themed vehicles and buildings, while others look indistinguishable from the vanilla DayZ towns. The foliage and wildlife is still basically the same DayZ plants and critters, and the weather and general atmosphere lacks that sort of nuclear-induced Fallout vibe. Converting an entire game to look like another game is a tremendous amount of work, and the modders haven't yet achieved a full conversion status, but it's still very impressive. Still, stepping out of that vault into the wasteland for the very first time absolutely gave me that Fallout feeling. The area outside the vaults also has a lot of Fallout-themed vehicles parked on either side of the path away from the vault entrances, and the distant view of the landscape really feels like you're surveying the Fallout wasteland from an interesting vantage point. Despite every element in this mod not feeling fully Fallout just yet, I can see where the devs are going with it, and they're getting a lot of mileage out of even not a full conversion at this stage. When it comes to the actual gameplay, the mechanics are still very much DayZ. You have to carefully manage your health stats and inventory in the same way that you do in DayZ. Stuff like eating and drinking regularly are important. Drugs and bandages are essential for surviving the ghoul encounters, and if you've ever played vanilla DayZ, all of this is pretty much a one-for-one with the regular experience. The mod also incorporates DayZ's deeper mechanics like cooking over campfires, having to wash animal blood off your hands to avoid infecting bandages and wounds, plus more basic stuff like managing your body temperature with the appropriate clothing or shelter. One of the cooler updates though is that FalloutZ has radios that have been turned into Pip-Boys. Holding it in your hand with a battery installed lets you speak to other players on various radio frequencies. And while this has been a mechanic in DayZ for ages, it does fit the theme of Fallout incredibly well. Now personally, I've never been that into vanilla DayZ. For years I've kept tabs on the game, but mostly avoided it because of the crazy time commitment required and also just the pacing, not to mention the history of it being quite buggy. But popping back into it, even in modded form, I was genuinely surprised by how polished the game actually feels these days. Don't get me wrong, there's still tons of janky feeling stuff. Climbing on the roofs of cars to stop the enemy NPCs from attacking you will never feel like a proper game mechanic to me, but those obnoxious bugs like walking downstairs and breaking your legs seems to be a thing of the distant past. DayZ jank aside though, it is funny spending some time in DayZ simply because I was interested in a Fallout mod, and it's kind of given me a taste of the appeal of DayZ, though perhaps with some of the harder features tuned down a bit. There's also a lot less bloodthirsty players roaming the map. PvP in DayZ can be incredibly brutal because of how realistic it is. You'll be strolling along a highway and drop dead to a sniper shot without even realizing what happens sometimes. But I didn't run into a single hostile player the entire time I played FalloutZ, and I think some of that's because everyone's spawning in the vaults and they have a common purpose of getting to the big towns in the southern region, and that in itself is pretty challenging, and I think it just makes players want to work together. There's certainly a sense of camaraderie that I feel from Fallout games, just trying to make it with the other Wastelanders. Bethesda has always done a great job of reinforcing that Fallout is about surviving together, and FalloutZ does a great job of translating that sense of togetherness into the world of DayZ, and I think it's a great way to experience the game's incredible depth. I'll certainly be keeping my eye on this mod. DayZ does translate into the Fallout world quite nicely, but I do think it needs a bit more work before it truly starts to feel more like Fallout and less like DayZ. Let me know in the comments if you guys have played this mod yet, or other DayZ mods that you might recommend. Now that I've gotten a taste for DayZ, I'm curious to see what else it's got to offer. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. And up next, check out one of the best ways to revisit possibly the best Fallout game ever made. This is a mod pack you don't want to miss. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.